Bonjour everyone, I'm Jordan Ulrich, Chief Financial Officer of Peguis First Nation. I'm going to give you a few updates regarding housing and flood today. Peguis has so much need for more housing and capital projects, and yet things have always historically seemed to move slow, and the band never seems to have enough money. Every year, ISC, as in Indigenous Services Canada, provides us with a cash flow budget report, which essentially targets where ISC believes the money should be spent based on program area. Assisted living, $2.6 million. Band, $6.8 million. Capital, $3.4 million. Education, $30.4 million. Health, $3.6 million. Income assistance, $8.7 million. Lands, just over $500,000. And public works, $566,000. Block funding does, however, allow for funds to be reallocated within the block of programs. If we take our block funding of nearly $57 million annually, divide it by 12 months, that leaves us with $4.7 million of monthly block funding. Peguis only gets $4.7 million of block funding per month from ISC. I will now walk you through how that monthly block funding is received, transferred, and spent each month. We receive our monthly block funding of $4.7 million. Immediately, based on the identified ISC targets, we transfer $224,000 to assisted living. We transfer $2.5 million to education. We transfer nearly $300,000 to health. We transfer just over $700,000 to income assistance and $44,000 to lands, $47,000 to public works. After all these transfers, the band typically only has approximately $857,000 of block funding available by the 5th of the month. This is nothing new, unfortunately. Peguis has always been underfunded. Now I will go through how that remaining block funding is spent on expenses, and I will show you just how little our nation has month in and month out to operate on. Throughout the month, we have many expenses, everything from audit fees to supplies to phone bills, leases, legal fees, insurance, fuel, all things considered. After all of our monthly block funding remaining was transferred and spent, we have a hole of about $1 million at a minimum each month. This list of expenses is not exhaustive, and many more do arise each month. These totals also makes no mention of the major list of payables that the new administration inherited 2 years ago and has since paid off. These metrics used to be much worse 2 years ago, and the band has significantly reduced spending. But that $1 million hole that I mentioned, after transferring all the transfers based on the identified ISC targets, is why the band reallocates block funding from education each year. This walkthrough is also why the band never seems to have any money available for housing projects and repairs. This walkthrough is also why the band never seems to be able to jump on opportunities. It takes money to make money. The band is not a bank and simply does not have the cash flow to float or advance unfinished projects. It is critical to understand why things are so tight for our nation's finances each month. And again, this is nothing new. This is how it's always been. But here is the bright hope in future. Some immediate things that we are doing to continue to improve our cash flow are: number one, we must understand that block funding can be reallocated within the block of programs. Some programs have lots of block funding, while others seem to never have enough. Number two, we will continue to reduce spending in every area that we can. Number three, We will continue to separate any new project funding into individual bank accounts to only be used for its true intent. Number 4, we will lobby ISK for more annual block funding, especially as we hopefully head into the 10-year NFR grant. NFR is New Fiscal Relationship, and it's a new form of funding for First Nations, in which all the annual funding will be given up front in April. This will greatly benefit our nation, enhance our self-sovereignty and self-governing ways, and significantly reduce reporting. Like many municipal organizations and governments, Peguis has historically kicked the can down the road instead of picking it up when it comes to housing, capital, and flood projects. When I was the controller of Peguis nearly 10 years ago, I often heard the phrase, "We need to borrow from Peter to pay Paul." I could not disagree more with this phrase. Kicking the can essentially means to keep adding to the debt and to use new funds to pay for old projects. I'm here today to share with you that we are no longer kicking this can down the road, and we are going to get right and get square as a nation. In the last 2 years, we have taken Peguis out of a growing debt bubble that led to the BFI debacle. We've stabilized cash flow, we've significantly reduced spending, and we've gotten more organized than ever. These next 2 years are about improvement and building momentum. Momentum is achieved when small, good decisions lead to good habits. Then, the good habits over time achieve momentum and acceleration. We are doing things right. Well, we have covered the things that are hard and challenging for our nation, but it's time to smile a bit. Many exciting and positive things are beginning to fall into place pertaining to flood and housing. As I mentioned in one of my previous video updates last year, I mentioned that Chief and Council successfully negotiated funding for 3 years for a project manager company to oversee flood and housing projects. This was done to ensure that the band is not out of pocket on this. The project manager company is still hard at work getting organized and preparing for development. They are also overseeing the recently signed PAR, which stands for Project Approval Request. This is big news for our nation, as it's going to provide many transitional homes and an elders sixplex, as well as work done on our lagoon. More information specifically pertaining to the PAR will be provided in the near future. We've also taken significant steps to improve our relationship with ISK, to build trust, so that when we get funding for housing, flood, and capital projects, we truly use it precisely for what it was intended for. Part of this trust building is we have created separate bank accounts so that when funds are received from ISK, we immediately put it away in its own bank account to be used solely and precisely for its funding agreement. Budgets and cash flows are being developed for every housing, flood, and capital project to ensure that we are always on track and that we will never take from one pot of money to use it in a different pot of money. The Children's Housing Project is about to begin, and we have $2.7 million set aside and ready to use for this when it begins. That's all for today. May Creator bless you all.